But today we finna figure out about some two light-skinned rappers. You know, light skins is not the most toughest according to the internet. Me being light skinned, everybody say I'm a goofy just because I'm light skinned. Off the back, they say I'm not like that. Look at me, bro. The lighter the skin, the more goofy they think you are. So we finna look up K Money in them, bro. See if they really like that or they just bapping you.
Listen close when I'm spitting, I got the toast, yeah, that's smithing. Plus I told you it's war and all my youngins, they gripping.
Every time you see me with my money, you be preying.
Boy, I see that. I see that. Is they from the same hood as Central C? Not Central C. The same hood as Top 5? Because I ain't gonna bap to you. That music sound trash, bro. And I know Top 5, bro. They got some of the most trashest rappers. Real deal. I think the best Doovie like y'all best Canadian rapper, real deal, bro.
It was turning up.
Or a rapper, she want a dope boy. Or a rapper, she got a dope boy.
There ain't no way y'all real life bumping this, bro. It ain't no way y'all been bumping this gang. If y'all was bumping this gang, boy, I am not having no hot boxes, no smoke sessions with y'all. If y'all the DJ, the ox, none of that, bro. Keep the ox away from y'all.
It's overwhelming.
So there's no doubt in my mind that you've heard of these two already. Toronto rappers K Money and Casper TNG.
Unfortunately, I have heard of them. I watched a little Toronto hood vlog, and they was actually up in it, bro. And then they played their little music clip, and I would never play these people a day in my life. That's how I knew their music was like pretty trash already, bro. But I'm trying to see, maybe they just super gangster. Maybe they just super gangster, and they just make bad music, and that's why they respect it in the streets.
Even if you're not from the city, you've probably stumbled across their music at some point or another, or saw their faces on a news report. They're the brothers who made headlines in June of 2018.
Bro, why he look like that fish, bro? That fish that be out the water, bro? That look like a human on gang, bro.
After they were involved in an epic police chase through the downtown streets, which looked like gameplay straight out of Grand Theft Auto. They swerved through traffic, ran red lights, hit other cars, and even drove down a long stretch of sidewalk before they eventually crashed.
Dang! Bro,
And it turns out that
on the sidewalk, like, I ain't gonna bap to you. I feel like, gang, it's no point of doing a dash for real, bro, because you just adding more time up onto your sentence, bro. Because most people don't get away for real. You not inside no Hellcat gang. You not no Track Hawk, bro. You was in a little woo-woo, yeah, bro, you getting caught.
one of Casper's lyrics seemed to be the truth.
If the cops come behind me, dash, I'll be shot to make it.
Not only did heinous accomplices do the dash in a car, but also on foot. Unfortunately though, they weren't fast enough and couldn't outrun the law. The pursuit ended with all the suspects who were in the vehicle being caught. K Money.
You see, look, they crashed the Volkswagen, bro. You see, that's why I be telling y'all, bro. You just make your life worse by doing a dash. Real deal, bro. Like, when I be in the car with people, bro, I just gotta let people know, like, bro, you don't got the type of car to even do the dash. And 9 times out of 10, they probably ain't gonna do the dash, bro. And it's like, bro, I don't trust no one driving with my life trying to get away from 12.
Money and Casper, along with 2 others, including their cousin and fellow rapper RK, were charged with almost 100 offenses. Their arrests were a major blow to the music careers of both brothers, since they were in their prime and seeing rapidly growing success with almost every song they released. Now first, I wanted to make this another rise and fall video, since I think it meets the criteria, but I understand that some people, probably their hardcore fans, would be triggered by that title, and I get it. You could
Bro, the rise and fall, bro. I'm finna make the title the rise and fall of these people, because this literally, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I feel like they fall was inevitable listening to that music. I feel like the only reason why people listen to them is because they really live the lifestyle they rap about. That's the only reason someone should listen to these people, bro. Because if you listening to it because it's good, bro, you got a horrible taste of music, bro. I feel lots of rappers just get away with just people listening to them just because they actually live the street life, bro. So people just give them a pass if the music like pretty dookie.
I argue that the brothers have certainly seen a rise, but haven't yet seen a fall, with their arrest being just a minor setback for now. There's even word that Casper could be getting out as soon as April of this year. That being said, I think that anytime someone goes to jail, it should count as a fall, even if it's just temporary. That's not to say they won't make a comeback once they're released. They probably will, but spending years incarcerated can be detrimental for anyone, especially if you're a well-known rapper. You see, when you're locked up, you can't really drop any new music to further your career.
But that's the whole point of you making a whole bunch of music, bro. So if you do get locked up, bro, you just gonna be put like YoungBoy. He was posting the whole time while he was locked up, bro. Real deal. Most rappers got a whole bunch of songs that they just didn't never post, bro. So if he got a good management team behind him, he could post, and then when he get out of jail, he gonna be even bigger than what he was before, because lots of rappers get more views when they get out of jail, bro. Like if they go to jail, they get a whole boost in their career, and then this either they fall off or they keep it going. Like Bobby Shmurda got a boost, D-Thing got a boost, everybody got a little boost, and they just fell off because they wasn't able to, give the people what they want.
Well, in some cases you can, if you get your hands on a phone or some sort of device that records audio, which is risky, but it has been done before. But even then, you still can't shoot music videos, which definitely helps promote a song.
It's the very definition of gangsta rap. The recording studio, the Northwest Correctional Complex. And the video set, the inside of a prison cell. The subject matter.
Okay, correction. You can't shoot high quality music videos. Plus, without a physical presence in the outside world, you can only do so much and get so far. And for more popular rappers, not being able to do shows is just one of the many cons of being a con. For them, spending time in jail is essentially losing money. Along with that, the music industry generally has a short attention span, so it takes some effort to stay relevant while behind bars. Some rappers end up having to put out older, pre-recorded songs to keep up with the demand from their fans. An example is K-Money and Casper, and their track Like Me, which was released in August of 2020, long after their arrest. Looking at the numbers it did, it was definitely a hit, but I read that the audio of the song was a few years old, so it seems like they were digging in some crates to put something out for their fans. The two obviously didn't appear in the visuals, but there was a K-Money stunt double that was probably one of his brothers. Similar to Young Lava, K-Money and Casper were also the subjects of a Trap Geek video, so some of their notoriety surely came from there too. But even before that video, or their crazy police chase, they both already had a buzz, at least in Toronto. Between the two, their music had accumulated millions of views on YouTube, years before they would find themselves in prison for their most recent convictions. This is a tale of a couple more rappers who have potential, but seem to be more focused on the streets above everything, including music. At this point, I probably sound like a broken record, repeating the same things in these videos, but sadly it's a trend that continues to happen, since being a rapper in Toronto comes with the pressure to be tied up in street politics, and no matter how much attention they get, or what level of success they have.
Yeah, that's why the world be sending people clean off. These rappers be getting sent off by their fans, bro. The fans be trying so hard to have these rappers prove that they're a gangster, and now when they prove that they gangster and tough, now they locked up. Now they locked up, bro. Because it's like, if someone not doing that street stuff and they rapping about it, then y'all get to saying, boy, you a goofy. You ain't about that lifestyle. Prove it. Prove you like that. And then they go prove it and end up in jail. All because of y'all, bro. Y'all always be trying to make people crash out.
Most rappers from the city just can't seem to stay out of trouble, and K-Money and Casper TNG are one of the many examples. In just a few years, they made a name for themselves and elevated to the top, standing side by side with other artists who were blowing up at the time, but their itchy fingers landed them behind bars on some heavy charges. It doesn't pay to be a savage from the six, but it does make a story that others can learn from, and this is it. Now, since they're the most popular rappers statistically that I've covered so far, I'll be focusing on their come up music-wise more than I usually do in my videos. Alright, let's.
That's pretty sad that these is like the biggest rappers that you did. Like, they is like the bottom of the barrel. I think Doovie probably wasn't rapping at the time or something, bro. Or he just didn't do a video on Doovie, because seeing these like the best Canadian rappers you did, bro, that's pretty diabolical.
Get into it. So Kareem Mala Muhammad, age 22, and Sharif Muhammad, age 24, are brothers who are originally from the Regent Park area of Toronto. Now, I don't mean to be redundant, but I'll repeat what you already know. Regent Park is one of the roughest and dangerous areas in the city, but it used to be worse. Growing up there is definitely no walk in the park, and it's the place where K-Money and Casper spent their early life. They lived with their mom and their dad named Jeremy Robinson, who was also a musician. Back in the day, Jeremy rapped under the name Lyric J, but is more recently known as Brother J. He was one of 4 members in a Toronto hip-hop group from the 90s called Too Bad to Be True, or TBTBT. In 1993, the group dropped an album called One Track Mind, which received a significant amount of airtime on Much Music, and in 1994, it won a Juno Award for Rap Recording of the Year. It looks like the group has since split up, but over the last decade, Brother J has still been active, releasing music on platforms like YouTube and SoundCloud, and he even put out an EP in 2015 called The Hip Hop Soul.
That's dedication. You is not getting no views no more, Uncle. You still putting stuff out like people listening. Dedication, man.
Their dad being so involved with music, there's no question where K-Money and Casper got their inspiration. In an interview with We Love Hip Hop Network, Casper described how their dad was constantly in his home studio and would always be recording. They would often listen to his new songs and give feedback. But their dad wasn't the only person who influenced the two brothers. Casper said he grew up listening to different genres of music, from soul to 1990s R&B to old school hip hop. And back in the day, he was also a fan of Chris Brown. He talked about how one Christmas he used a gifted HMV card to buy one of his albums. On Casper,
that's pretty diabolical right there, bro. Spending your Christmas money to get a Chris Brown music mixtape. Boy, I would never spend my Christmas money on a Chris Brown mixtape, gang. I feel that's something that probably a woman would do. I don't think no dude care about Chris Brown that much to get it. You feel me? Unless you be dancing. You be dancing and stuff. That's that
Casper's official website, he writes that once he got older, he started listening to newer artists like Drake, Future, French Montana, Max B, Gucci Mane, and The Weeknd. As for K-Money, well, like Casper, he grew up listening to basically everything. But he said that since he's fairly young, he didn't really listen to old school stuff, but instead more recent music. He mentioned tuning into rappers like Drake, Lil Wayne, Tyga, and other members of YMCMB. The variety of different styles and artists they listen to is likely what helped them develop their own unique sound, a sound that set them apart from others. But we'll get more into the music side of things in a bit, because despite having access to a studio at a young age, the brothers didn't actually start rapping until they were in their teens. Before that, they seemed to be having a rough time in their neighborhood of Regent Park. So as I mentioned earlier, K-Money and Casper's dad was in TBTBT, but he also had connections to another local.
I mean, bro, Chris Breezy, bro, I ain't saying he bad. I'm not saying he bad or whatever. Chris Brown, a legend for sure, but to spend your Christmas money on a Chris Breezy mixtape is just like diabolical to me. I mean, I ain't saying there's anything wrong with getting to Chris Brown to listen to some Chris Breezy, you feel me? But it's like, Christmas? Yeah, for Christmas, this what you want? Out of all the presents? That's just crazy to me. I ain't gonna back to you, bro.
Local rap group named Point Blank, which was composed of 6 MCs and 1 in-house producer. They were another music clique from Regent Park during the 90s and early 2000s, known for songs like Born and Raised in the Ghetto, Life 2002, Want It With Us, and more. Since their music was brought into modern times with the help of YouTube, they've collected over 1 million views, and back then, the group was definitely ambitious. They claimed that they were the first real street rappers from the city to try and break into the mainstream, and quote-unquote put the hood into HMV. So Jeremy, aka Brother J, wasn't directly in the group, but he did have some ties to them. He featured on a few of their tracks, such as Loyalty and Want It With Us, which was referred to by some people as the Regent Park anthem. Well, it turns out whatever link Brother J did have with the group may have caused some problems for not only himself, but also for K-Money and Casper. Apart from the rap group Point Blank, there was also a Regent Park gang called the Point Blank Soldiers. Now, I'm not 100% sure if the rap group and the gang are connected, but it does look like it, considering the names are practically identical. The gang was formed in the late 80s and throughout the 90s, and proved themselves to be violent and territorial. They were just one of the many gangs in Regent Park that turned the area into a hotspot for crime, through drug trafficking, shootings, and everything in between. The Point Blank Soldiers had underlying tension with another gang in the area, the Silent Soldiers. The two forces used to be allies and operate as one, but in 2003 they split up and became separate entities and enemies. These were the gangs involved in the highly publicized case of Jane Kariba, a 15-year-old girl who was tragically killed after being caught in the crossfire of a downtown gunfight. It happened on Boxing Day in December.
Yeah, I heard that goofy stuff before, bro. That was some cornball behavior. I ain't gonna bap to you. Like I said, anyone that hit an innocent person, bro, well, you need to be in jail, bro. You should not be saying free that person. If you saying free that person and they hit an innocent person, bro, you need to go be in jail with them, bro. Because imagine if that was like your innocent kid, your daughter, you feel me, your sister. Like, then you're gonna be like, boy, they a goofy boy. They need to go to jail. So just because it's not your people's, don't change your outlook on the goofy behavior. No matter if you mess with the people or not, bro. Whether it could be my own homie. It could be my little brother. My little brother hit an innocent person. I'm gonna be like, how would you feel if someone hit our sister? Someone just hit our sister, gang. You'll be like, they're goofy. So even though you my little brother, you still a goofy in that game because it's like, bro, you wouldn't want that, you won't know what to do that to our little sister. So like, you feel me? That's how you gotta be, bro. You feel me? So the world don't get to a messed up place. If people not caring and justifying bad behavior like that, the world is just gonna always. It gotta be like, you feel me? A line. It gotta be a line where people gotta be like, yeah, bro, you went too far, Brody. I ain't gonna bap to you.
December of 2005. Later down the line, the Silent Soldiers would become known as Sick Thugs and hold their reputation of being a deadly group. Long story short, the Point Blank Soldiers definitely had some internal beef within Regent Park, not to mention with other hoods in the city. And this is when I get into the rumors and speculation. So Brother J's involvement with Point Blank may have become an issue for K-Money and Casper. It's reported that they would be harassed and even bullied in Regent Park. A fairly new rapper from the area, Lil Barrett, addressed the topic when he went live on Instagram one night. After K-Money dissed him in a comment, Lil Barrett went on a rant targeting him and Casper. He claims that the two would often be harassed and robbed, and there's a bunch of comments all over the internet basically saying the same thing. There are also allegations that another rapper from Regent Park, named YH, was one of the people who picked on the brothers. It's said that Casper's Louis Vuitton belt was taken by YH, who later flaunted with it around his waist in a music video. Another local rapper known as
You see, I ain't gonna bap to you. Yeah, some people just don't understand how monumental like those belts was. Like that belt, bro, back in the day, gang, if you had a belt, like, bro, people was going to the beauty supply getting the fake stuff, bro. But back in the day, bro, only thing you needed was the belt, bro. Real deal. I remember I had a fake Gucci belt from the beauty supply. Boy, I thought, boy, I couldn't wait to wear, because you had to wear uniform in school. You got to wear uniform in school. So the only thing you could really do something for real is the belt. You pop on that belt in school, ooh, what you got on? Shorty, you already know what I got on, bro. Just look down there, Shorty. You can see what's going on, man. That when you got that, that's motion. That's motion. I ain't gonna bap to you.
Racks or Big Racks allegedly had some problems with K-Money, but before that, they used to play basketball together. A Reddit user even claims that one day, K-Money fired shots at Racks, who was standing outside of Regent Park Community Center a few years ago.
Dang,
on top of everything, there's a lot of people saying that the brothers are quote-unquote Regent rejects. Not my words. And for another disclaimer, as I said, these are just internet comments that have been thrown around by a
So you telling me that the hood, they hood don't claim them no more, bro? That's basically what y'all telling me, bro. That they is not respect. So they treating them like gun. Did they snitch or something? Like what happened? What happened for them to do it? Or that's just people just heading on the internet, bro? Is they really rejects?
anonymous users. These could just be people who have a personal vendetta against the brothers, or there could be more to the story. I personally don't know what parts are true or false. I'm just bringing forward the information and putting it on the table, so take it with a grain of salt and don't shoot the messenger. Anyways, it was reported that K-Money and Casper's parents had divorced when they were in their teens, so that could have been a reason why they moved out of Regent Park. Their dad stayed in the area while their mom moved to Riverdale, a neighborhood just east of Regent Park, over the Don River. But instead of going with their mom or staying with their dad, the brothers headed to a community housing project in Alexandra Park called Atkinson Co-op. There it said they lived with their grandma while they got accustomed to the change of scenery and made some new friends. But like Regent Park, Alexandra Park is also a rough part of the city, due to it being the stomping grounds for a notorious gang called...
Is that where they got the Asian gang at? Is that where the Asian gangs was at, bro? I think I heard about Alexandra Park. I ain't gonna bap to you.
PO or Project Originals. Coincidentally, P.O. was knee-deep in a conflict with Regent Park, the place where K-Money and Casper probably had a hatred for. I'm guessing that's what caused the brothers to naturally integrate into P.O. They had a chance to be on the opposing side of Regent Park, and joining P.O. was the perfect way. Now there's obviously much more.
Ah, so that's why they call them that, bro. Bro, why you keep on putting this nasty looking beef up on the screen, gang? Like, bro, stop putting that beef up on the screen, bro. I don't want to see that, bro. That look nasty, bro.
To the beef, which consists of multiple different cliques going at each other, but that's a whole different story. I recommend Hood Chronicles video on the topic for anyone interested in knowing more about it. But for now, let's stay on course. So eventually, a group of members within P.O., including K-Money and Casper, banded together and decided to create a new subset that would be named Menace Gang, or MG for short. The gang is definitely still rooted in the streets, but they also became known as a music group as well. With efforts from K-Money and Casper, as well as other MG artists like RK and Rolex Homie, they promoted their group and made MG4L a household name in Toronto. You can identify an MG member by not only their trademark forearm tattoo, but also by the amount.
Oh yeah, y'all going to jail. You gonna be in jail for sure. And it's like, this is why I don't understand with people, bro. Why would you get a tattoo of what you repping, bro? That's why the police, when you get locked up, they check to see what your tattoos is, bro. So before you even lie, they gonna know the truth. You feel me? How you gonna say you not this, but you got this tattooed up on you? Oh, it's a rap group on gang. Well, they been like, we heard that story for years now, bro. We locking you up and we hitting you with gang activity too.
Amount of attention they get on their videos, easily averaging hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions.
Yeah,
but when they're not putting out
general
content,
Canadian.
they're making appearances on the news from their antics in the streets. One example is Rolex Homie, who is recently in the spotlight for not only making a tweet threatening people in Regent Park, or releasing the song Avengers K, which set the city on fire and wreaked havoc, but also for being wanted on an attempted murder charge from December of last year. Needless to say, Menace Gang has some hostile members within its ranks. Even though K-Money and Casper once lived in Regent Park, it was obvious they wanted nothing to do with the area, and ended up being on the front lines of a battle against them.
Yeah, I heard about
Ultimately,
Rolex
some of
Homie.
their history is kind of confusing, at least from what I could find online. It
Are
seems
you
like
from
throughout their
Toronto
life,
with
the
it?
brothers jumped around from place to
Okay.
place, and lived all over the GTA. It's said that they spent some time in Brampton, and even up in Richmond Hill. I'm not sure why they bounced back and
I ain't gonna bap to you. Brampton just sound like something where Bloods would be at. Like real deal, like, oh yeah, Brampton, that's where the Bloods be at.
forth from Alexandra Park, but Casper mentions in a track that his grandma passed away, so that could have something to do with it. At some point though, they moved in with their mom in Riverdale, in a house near Broadview and Gerrard Street East. Let's just say they had an eventful few years at the house, and ended up having to move out, but we'll get back to that later on, so keep it in your memory. For now, to make
So I guess Riverdale is just bad everywhere because it's an Illinois suburbs called Riverdale, and it's not the best. I ain't gonna bap to you.
things simpler, I'm gonna divide the video into focusing on one brother at a time. We'll start with the younger one, K-Money. Let's go back in time and take a look at his come up, as well as his history in the streets. So I already went over some of his musical influences, but even then, he didn't dip his toe in rap until long after Casper did. In that same interview, K-Money even says that he never would have got into music in the first place, if it wasn't for his brother taking the first leap. After Casper scoped out the music scene, K-Money decided to have a crack at it himself. In March of 2016, he made his first appearance on YouTube, when he featured on Up, alongside his brother and fellow MG associates Sizzle and RK. One particular person, Sizzle, was getting a ton of backlash in the comments over his part of the song. A lot of people thought his verse wasn't up to
Brother, hey, I ain't gonna bap to you. I feel like that's probably one of the worst things ever that could happen to a rapper, bro. Like, you hop on a group song and everybody let that one person know that they messed up the song, bro. And the crazy part about it too, they probably know his verse was trash. They knew it. They just didn't want to say it. They really wanted the comments to let them know that it was trash. You feel me?
par with the others, and it's even said that he was
Jamaica.
removed from the Apple Music, SoundCloud, and Spotify versions of the track, which is pretty
Dang.
harsh. Regardless, it still managed to rake in over 3.5 million views, and was definitely a good start for K-Money. A month later, in April of 2016, he dropped Dat Ninja, which is actually the first song he ever recorded in a studio, before Up. It garnered over 1.5 million views, and again featured Casper as well as RK. Many seasoned Toronto rappers don't get that amount of views, so it's surprising that K-Money's first few releases were that successful. He was already being recognized as a
I mean, bro, how many like? Yeah, I don't get that many Toronto rappers for real. That let's be real, bro. It ain't that many Toronto rappers for real. I feel like these before these people, who was it? Before these people, bro. What rappers did y'all have, gang? I ain't gonna bap to you. I think like the Robin Banks era and all that stuff, the short off shorty was y'all era, gang. When y'all started getting rappers, bro. Like y'all had Drake and stuff before. Before that, bro, it was shirt off shorty. That's when y'all started getting rappers.
New face in the city, alongside Casper, who was already a few years deep in the game at that point. K-Money continued to make progress, linking up with Six Bros premieres to release Rich, as well as featured on a bunch of songs on Casper's 2016 mixtape, MG4L. After dropping a handful of music, K-Money unfortunately got caught up in some legal issues. He was arrested on drug trafficking charges as a youth offender and ended up doing a 1-year stint in a juvenile detention center. There are not many details of the arrest, but he said that he got out in the summer of 2017, weeks before his 18th birthday. Once he was free, he got right back in the studio and resumed making music. He immediately put out a track called Ride, which was supposedly a diss track towards Regent Park rapper Puffy Els, but more so against Halal Gang, which is one of P.O.'s top rivals. After that, in September of 2017, he would drop one of the most notable records in underground Canadian hip-hop, Come Outside. The song quickly took Toronto and eventually the whole country by storm. To this day, it's comfortably sitting at over 13 million views. Aside from being a catchy song, it was apparently a diss aimed at Regent Park as a whole, taunting their rivals by asking them to come outside. Regardless of what it meant, it made history as one of the most viral songs.
I ain't gonna bap to you, bro. I think that song was pretty trash. Cause I think they played a clip of that song. I actually nah, bro. You talking about that's a classic, bro? I think that song was trash. Maybe it's a different song that I'm thinking of, but if it's what I'm thinking of, that song was trash, bro.
Songs to come out of the city that even had people who were
Bro just said even the UK bumped it, bro. Do you not know what do you hear what the UK people listen to? I don't think that's a good thing to be like, oh yeah, the UK. No, that don't help your case, brother.
completely oblivious to any street politics, tuning in for a listen. From there, K-Money continued to ride his wave, and a few months later, he followed up with Was It Worth It?
I'm going when the video hit 20 minutes, I'm gonna check out Come Outside and see what's going on.
And then Hurt You, that featured a rapper named Young Tory, who was one of Lil Durk's OTF artists, which showed how far K-Money's name had reached. Both songs got millions of views, which seemed to become the norm anytime he dropped something. All in all, there's no doubt that things were looking good for K-Money. He was the talk of the town and had a large fan base tuning in and supporting him. People from all over Toronto were showing love. His music was even played at a Maple Leafs and Raptors game, which is certainly an achievement for any underground rapper. But shortly after releasing Hurt You, things would take a turn for the worse, and K-Money found himself at the center of a serious court case. In late March of 2018, he was arrested alongside 2 others as part of a human trafficking investigation.
Bro, why he kind of looked like Mr. Mosby with a longer head? They real life both look like they came from the deep sea though. I ain't gonna back.
Police alleged that in November of 2017, K-Money and 2 Brampton men forced 2 young women, one aged 17, the other 18, to work as escorts against their will. One of the women in question was able to escape the hotel that she was being held, and
Bro, you can't get no one that was, like of age, bro. Like that's kind of like I know pimping been around and pimps do be doing that type of stuff, but bro, come on, bro. Like come on, bro. Real deal, bro. Just 21. Just come on. Just let them be 21 before you put them on the block. Can y'all do that for me? Just wait till they 21. You feel me? Because it's like y'all probably destroying their life already. They probably, if they chose that route, they probably was gonna go down the bad path anyway. But you never know. You never know, bro. Like at least wait till they 21. You feel me? Where they could legally, some people be like 18, they adult. Bro, you a creep, gang. No, they not, bro. They got teen in their age, bro. How you adult and you still got teen in your age? I don't want to hear none of that.
and later contacted the police, which is what led to all of their arrests. As part of the investigation, the police executed multiple search warrants and seized a loaded Norinco long-barreled rifle and a large quantity of crack.
So this what y'all sliding on the ops with, bro? Y'all is about as bad as the UK now. This behavior is about as bad as the UK now that I'm looking at it, bro. What is this supposed to be? The Soviet World War I weapon?
A 2016 Nissan Maxima was also seized. The two men shared 27 charges, while K-Money only had 4, including assault, forcible confinement, and failure to comply with probation. K-Money spent about a month in custody before he was released on what I'm assuming was bail, but his case was still very much active. Years later, in March of 2020, while he was already in prison for his car chase convictions, all of the offenses related to the human trafficking case were withdrawn, while the 2 other men involved pleaded guilty to their charges. One of them was handed 9 years, the other a 1-year sentence. K-Money claims that the cops gave him a quote-unquote
fake charge, you know what I'm saying? Like one of those ones.
And his lawyer, Jack Verk, said that he believes his client was a police target only because he was a successful rapper. But let's head back to April of 2018.
I ain't gonna lie, hot blicks is expensive everywhere, bro. Well, it depends. No, I would say no. But it's like real deal, bro. If you try to get that Glocky, yeah, that's gonna be a little bit. They be waxing for those. But other things, bro, you can get something for a low, especially like revolvers.
When K-Money was fresh out of jail. Once on road, he instantly dropped Bang Bang, which definitely let his audience know.
5 bands? What the? What? Bro, I'm gonna be out there using swords. What? Well, it's gonna turn into UK if I'm out there, gang. boy, you got it. Boy, y'all got the game messed up. If you think I'm finna be up in that dueling, bro. Real deal, bro. I'm finna get a katana, gang.
Know that he was back. Like most of his other songs, the video surpassed over 1 million views and demonstrated his consistency in making hits. He also put out No But Hurt, which was a song on 6buzz's debut compilation album, 6 Upside Down, released in October of 2018. Since then, K-Money has hopped on several songs with other artists, as well as dropped an assortment of his own singles, and released a project in June of 2019 called Money Mixtape. That brings us to his most recent major release, which was Like Me. But obviously at some point in between, K-Money ended up getting arrested with Casper after their action-packed police chase. In addition to that, it was reported by his lawyer that K-Money was also under investigation for a .44 Magnum that was found around Kensington Market in September of 2017.
Boy, who did folks' haircut, gang? Real deal, bro, is bogus, bro. I would not want to hire him to do nothing. Just off that haircut, I'm not hiring you to do nothing, bro. I can't trust no one with that type of haircut, gang. What is this supposed to be? The Caucasian mohawk? I don't know, bro.
So before we get to the climax of the video, which is the big pursuit, let's take a further look into Casper and go over his side of the story.
Bro, the Indians be having the Caucasian, bro. I ain't gonna catch you. It be so crazy though. Because Indians be having Caucasian hair to me. Is it like different, dude? Is it different to y'all? Is it like a different? Because honestly, Indians, they be looking like they got Caucasian hair, bro. Or is it like a different type of texture and stuff?
So we're now on to the older brother, Casper T&G, or the neighborhood ghost, also known as Mr. Walk 'em Down. He said he decided to make Casper his main nickname, well, because
sometimes you see me, sometimes you don't. Also, because the complexion of my skin is a little lighter than other black people.
So unlike K-Money, who's fairly new to rap, Casper's been at it for almost a decade. He made his official introduction in July of 2013 with a mixtape that he released on Dat Piff called Menace to Society, which included 14 tracks. He chose one of them, called Get 'Em, to partner with a music video and uploaded it to YouTube, making a second debut but on a different platform. The video got over 100,000 views, which was a humble start, and only set the stage.
I ain't gonna lie. Now that right there, bro, getting 100,000, that give you motivation to keep going, bro. I ain't gonna back to you.
And only set the stage for what was next to come. He followed up with an album of 15 tracks called Ghost Town Volume 1, and once again picked a song to pair with visuals. He chose In My City, and in September of 2014, he put out the video, which got the same amount of attention as his last release. A few months later, in December, Casper partnered with Sunny Visual and dropped All About Me, which again totaled around 100,000 views. He was picking up some traction, but the process was about to be expedited the following year, in February of 2015. Casper recalls that one morning he decided to smoke a blunt, likely a backwoods, before heading to school. After his wake and bake, suddenly a chorus for a song came to him. He decided to skip class so he
Why did you have to say likely a backwood though? Like, I feel like you could have left that out, but
could write down the lyrics before they left his mind. The lyrics that he wrote ended up being the hook that would jumpstart his career. He recorded the track Dope Boy and then partnered with 6buzz Premieres and released it on their channel. It reached over 750,000 views within a month, which could be considered viral, at least for underground rap. Currently, it's got 4.5 million views and counting, and it still remains one of his most popular songs to date. A couple of months after dropping that gem, Casper put out another volume of Ghost Town, which had 6 songs. He was productive in 2015 and made good use of the clout he acquired from Dope Boy. He spent the rest of the year putting out well over a dozen notable songs matched with videos. Some were more popular than others, but the view count was steadily climbing each time. In October of 2015, he released Dope Boy the album, which had some older songs but a few fresh ones too. It looked like Casper was finishing off the year on a good note, or so he thought. In late December of 2015, it's reported that he was wrongly jailed on robbery and firearm charges. But during the time he was locked up, the channel M-Works released his single again, and then his team uploaded Know Me to his official channel on his behalf. Now Dope Boy is what jump-started Casper's career, but Know Me is what propelled it to another level. The song received more views than his last several releases combined, getting nearly 6 million and rising, making it the most popular on his resume. Once he was out of jail in late January of 2016, he had an even bigger wave to surf and was back at it again. This is around the time that K-Money entered the picture, and they came together to drop Up, and that was the start of their musical chemistry. Besides when the brothers featured together, Casper has a bunch of independent tracks under his belt that he put out that year. Too many to mention in detail, but Oops, Winnin', I Know, and Day Ones are a few. It wasn't until 2017 that Casper would have his busiest year yet. He still had hype from Dope Boy and Know Me, amongst other songs, but he was about to add a lot more quality content to his portfolio. He dropped Queen Street West, Unforgettable, Brown Hunnits, Burberry Closet, Freeze, In My Blunt, can go on forever, and I really could go on forever because those aren't even all of them. For the songs in that list that didn't reach millions of
So is Casper better than K-Money? Cause I ain't gonna bap to you. I heard that K-Money stuff, and I'm like, bro, how's y'all calling him a Toronto legend? He not that good for real, in my opinion. Is Casper better or no?
Reviews, they got close to it. One of the tracks, Freeze, which came out in September 2017 and featured recently arrested rapper Top 5, was the first time Casper's music made it onto the Hip Hop Canada's Spotify playlist. Since then, Casper has maintained his presence with tracks like Harmonix Made a Hit, Don't Care Anymore, Still the Same, Have You, Splash, and others. By that time, Casper and K-Money were already doing shows in Toronto.
Then in top 5, y'all said top 5 robbed K-Money. Is that true? That's crazy if it's true, and his brother got a song with him.
The GTA and beyond, and even sold out a show in Ottawa. Needless to say, your name has to ring some bells to get to that level. Overall, it's hard not to respect Casper's work ethic when it comes to making music. To this day, he has over 11 mixtape and albums that he's put out, totaling hundreds of songs. If you compare him to K-Money, it's probably tough to say which brother is the better rapper, but when it comes down to who has the
Oh no, that's bad. That's bad, bro. If you can't determine which one's the better rapper, I don't think either one of them good then.
Bigger portfolio or more experience, it's gotta be Casper. But now that we went over the music aspect of his life, it's time to discuss the mischief in his past. I mentioned the short time that he wrongfully spent in jail, but there's definitely more on his rap sheet. So let's go back in time once again and look at things from another perspective. So Casper seems to have quite the criminal history.
So you telling me, oh yeah, Casper and them, they finna get back in the street. You know, Casper and them, they only get it in blood. They only get it back in blood, so I'm finna pray for GGG, you feel me?
With minor offenses dating as far back as 2013. In August of that year,
That outfit is diabolical, bro. Even for back in the day, that outfit is just diabolical, bro. Did you see the shoes he had with that? He had some red shoes with, bro, what?
History, with minor offenses dating as far back as 2013.
No, look at this outfit, gang. It ain't no way you popped out for a music video like this.
In August of that year, Casper ripped a cell phone out of a girl's hand and was later charged with robbery. A few years later, in July of 2015, Casper was one of the assailants who jumped a man, in which the victim was stabbed and suffered a cracked rib. He was charged with aggravated assault.
You see what happened to you? Not hearing what happening right now. You talking about they ain't worried too much. All right, you hear what's happening in this video. I'm just giving y'all a friendly reminder of what they be doing in these streets.
Robbery and conspiracy to commit an indictable offense. This was around the time when K-Money and Casper moved in with their mom in Riverdale. And remember how I said they had an eventful few years there? Well, apparently their gang ties and any politics that came with it had followed them to their new home. It's said that rocks were constantly being thrown at their house, and in a more serious incident that happened in May of 2016, their mom's house was shot up, which ended up killing the family cat that was inside. These occurrences...
Nah, they some goofies. They some goofies right there. I ain't gonna back to you. So you throwing rocks at the op's crib, and then you shoot up his crib and only hit the cat. They gotta get the Goofy Award for sure.
Eventually led to K-Money and Casper moving out, which was probably for their family's safety, since it's reported that their mom had several of her other children living there too. For the rest of the summer, that area in Riverdale saw 3 separate shootings, and there was even a news article reporting on it. I don't know if the incidents are connected to K-Money and Casper, but they stick out in what otherwise looks like a quiet residential neighborhood. I mean, there's a church right on the corner of where one of the shootings went down, but unfortunately it didn't.
No, that's a nice looking church though. Cause I was finna say, bro, it's churches and diabolical stuff be happening right in front of the church, bro. If it's in the hood, but that do look like a nice church. I'm not gonna bat to you.
Didn't deter the gunman. Anyways, a court document says that the brothers moved back in with their dad, but I'm not sure if he still lived in Regent Park or not. But it's also possible they already had their own place, since there's an apartment linked to them on the books. In June of 2016, the police were working with a confidential source who was able to provide them with a bunch of information that ultimately led to a search warrant. The police executed the raid on a unit at 150 Dan Leckie Way, an upscale condo located in downtown Toronto, near Fort York Boulevard and Bathurst Street. The address was said to be associated with both Casper and K-Money, and was considered by authorities to be a stash house. Well, the police entered the unit, but no one was inside at the time, and no arrests were made. About 1 year later, in July of 2017, the police got the green light for another warrant at the same address. They once again made their way into the unit, but this time it wasn't vacant. They found Casper sitting with his pregnant girlfriend on the couch. The police searched the kitchen and saw a bunch of bad crack on the dining table, and inside one of the kitchen cabinets was a bunch of other drugs. Officers continued looking around the apartment and entered one of the bedrooms. They immediately noticed a handgun lying on a mattress in plain sight. In the bedroom closet, they found several rounds of ammunition, as well as bullets scattered on the floor. Along with that, there were 4 cell phones and 5 digital scales found. The result of the raid was the police seizing a 1911 handgun, 8 rounds of 45 caliber ammo, 5 rounds of 40 caliber ammo, a few grams of coke and fentanyl, along with $860 in cash. The police also found 116 grams of what was only described as being a doughy white substance, so who knows what that was. The court file states that Casper was charged with possessing a loaded firearm, possession of crack and fentanyl with the purpose of trafficking, and possessing proceeds of...
Maybe that doughy white substance was used to help, I don't know, cut it. I don't know what, but I don't even mess with anything that's white, like white substances. None of that, bro. I don't like none of that. That Fenny, that white, none of that. Only I like green on gang.
Crime. He was released on bail, and it wasn't until he was already behind bars for the car chase that he would go to trial for these charges. In April of 2019, Casper pled guilty to the offenses, and with time spent in pretrial custody, along with any other credits, his sentence was 2 years, which was to be served concurrently.
That's crazy, bro. 2 years for having that white, a blick, all types of stuff. 2 years. That's because Canada, bro, they not very harsh with their laws, bro. Like, real deal, bro. Well, harsh with the sentences. Like, you would do the most diabolical stuff in Canada, and they'd be like, okay, we'll just give you 8 years. He caught 2 bodies. What do you mean 8 years? Yeah, 4 years for each body on gang. That's how Canada people be.
With his most recent charges. In court, it was mentioned that Casper had over 200 volunteer hours in the Gentleman's SWAT, which was a mentoring program for youth, hosted at St. Stephen's Community House. One of his old co-workers described Casper as being not only a gifted musician, but a community-minded, kind young man. So I thought I'd bring up something positive before we move on to the next segment of the video, which is basically the complete opposite. We've now arrived at the big day, May 28, 2018. That afternoon, there were some officers in unmarked police cars patrolling Regent Park and the surrounding area. There had been a recent shooting the night before, so they're on high alert and suspected that something may occur in the near future, and they were right. They noticed a black SUV, and one of the passengers inside was wearing a ski mask, looking more than suspicious. According to Casper, the police were already onto them before anything even went down, but it's not clear how far away they were. This is when the surveillance video captures the story. So I know you've already seen it, but for good measures, let's break down the footage of the chase once again. So it starts with a man in white shorts walking across the frame, who is the target of the shooting. We then see the same man sprinting down the sidewalk, chased by an armed masked suspect who fired a single shot but missed. You see bystanders crouch for cover as the gunman, who is K-Money, appears in the video carrying a Wild Western type of revolver.
That UK type of artillery right there, I ain't gonna back to you, brother. Real deal. Doing that in public, bro, that's crazy, bro. Like, how is he not in jail? How is they able to keep on getting out of jail and they real life doing lots of crash out stuff? That's why Canada ain't gonna get no better, because people could do stuff like this and they could get locked up for it and then still be out of jail. They ain't gonna back to you, bro.
Meanwhile, the getaway car, a rented Volkswagen Tiguan, is seen slowly creeping through traffic while waiting on their accomplice. Casper is seen in the passenger seat looking back down the street as his brother conducts his drill. Then the car suddenly reverses as civilians scramble to get inside of a store for cover. K-Money then hopped back in the car before it peeled off down Parliament Street. This is when the video cuts to the perspective of the police. We see an unmarked Grand Caravan direct.
Bro, really did all that for nothing, though, if you think about it, bro. He tried to run down the op, shot one time, and then he didn't shoot no more. Bro, why would you walk someone down, try to hawk them down, and only let out one shot, bro? The only logical reason for doing that is if you saying, oh yeah, I was just not trying to hit no innocent people. Then I respect that, bro. But if you say anything other than I wasn't trying to hit no innocent people, I'm like, bro, why you letting off one shot? Unless you only had one shot.
Directly behind the suspect's vehicle, while a patrol car cuts off their SUV from the front. It looked like they were trapped at first, but the driver managed to squeeze his way between the cars, while plainclothes officers lunged out of the vehicles with guns drawn. We then get another perspective of the chase from yet another cruiser. The suspects started speeding down Shooter Street as they swerved around ongoing cars. They zoomed down a long stretch of open road with the police in close pursuit. Moments later, they are forced to make a badly executed right turn due to a car in front of them. The SUV then hits a bet car, and ironically, they're the ones playing Crazy Taxi today. The driver continues evading, now driving on the wrong side of the street. They manage to weave in and out of cars.
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. If I was in the car with someone and they end up crashing like that, let me out, pull over, because honestly, it's too much traffic for them to even be doing a dash. Real deal, but luckily, they can't really gain that much speed to really do too much damage, but they can mess themselves up bad. But it's like, bro, it's too much traffic for you even trying to do the dash. You just got to take your L. You just add an extra charges at this point.
And nearly escaped the cruiser, but there was a lot of congested traffic since it was downtown during a summer afternoon. With the road clogged up and nowhere else to go, there was only one option left. The driver decided to mount the curb and drive down the sidewalk. You see a woman who was narrowly missed by the SUV as it speeds by with its bumper hanging on by a thread. Then from some random camera.
And it's crazy, bro. They doing all this in an Enterprise rental car, bro. I know the rental company is so mad. They is never gonna rent to anyone with that name again. I hope that they'll get the rental in one of their people's name, because they is cooked. I ain't gonna cap to you when they see that rental car company bill.
On a building rooftop, the suspect vehicle is seen trying to make a left turn onto Mutual Street, but the driver faced some understeer and the vehicle turned too wide and hit a trash bin, stalling the engine. All the doors flung open as suspects jumped out from each side of the car and took off. A cruiser arrived moments later, and that's when the on-foot portion of the chase began. Well, the suspects were on foot, but the police stayed in their cars at first. You can see them running down the street as police close in on them. Moments later, K-Money and Casper are seen running through the parking entrance of a building. Another angle shows them in a full sprint trying to evade the officers. We then see one make their way through a grass area on a light jog, appearing to already be out of breath. The video then cuts to a clip that shows one.
Dang, you are, boy, I ain't gonna bap to you. In my dreams, bro, that do be a problem, bro. I'll be having dreams and stuff, and I'm not able to keep running. I'm like, man, why can't I run? That's crazy, bro. You better, if you want to be doing all this type of stuff, you got to make sure you fit. I ain't gonna bap to you.
One of the men sitting on a curb, handcuffed. Another one of the suspects, who was RK, ran into a parking lot near.
Yeah, they was over with. You see their faces clear as day. I ain't gonna back to you, bro. I think the UK might be the smartest country, bro, when it comes to like the crash outs, bro, because at least they be masked up, bro. We just watched the Chicago video. They ain't had no mask. Canadian video, they don't got no mask. The UK people, they be masked up. That's what I will say about them. I ain't gonna back to you. They're a little bit smarter.
Construction site, and it looks like he was flustered. He headed into the back entrance of a business, which was an espresso bar, but he comes out within seconds, so I'm guessing it was a dead end. He walked around the parking lot a while longer before an unmarked police car pulled up, and officers got out with their weapons in hand. RK then climbed over the fence and jumped into the construction site. He ran through the dirt and mud while a few workers watched.
Yeah, you run away from the police, bro. Honestly, bro, I feel like you should expect to get shot, bro. And if you don't get shot, just consider yourself lucky. Honestly, I just got that in my head. Like, if I ever decide to run from the police, I'm potentially going to get shot, bro. And you just got to keep that in your head. That's why I would never run from the police, because I'm not trying to get shot by 12.
In confusion. He got to the other side of the site and nearly made it to the exit, but he was met by several officers waiting on the other side, who quickly swarmed him. And just for a fun fact, the almost empty construction site is now already a gigantic building. So 2 suspects were captured, and the next clip shows us.
That's what KB be having to deal with. KB out there right now building roofs and stuff. He got to deal with that in Canada.
That's what happened to the remaining 2. A cruiser pulled up as K-Money and Casper lay handcuffed and face down on the concrete, looking absolutely defeated. The whole chase lasted just a few short minutes, and the police were able to apprehend all the suspects involved. Thankfully, no one was injured when K-Money fired that shot, or from all of that erratic stunt driving. And it's actually fortunate that the pursuit took place downtown, which is probably what helped end it in a timely fashion. If you've ever driven around downtown in Toronto, especially during rush hour, you know that it's a pain to get around, let alone if you're trying to get away from the cops. To pull off something like that, you'd have to be a.
That what really saved him. I ain't going back to you, but real deal, because how Birdie was driving, it looked like he was going to crash. And if bro crashed at high speeds, if y'all didn't have y'all seatbelt on, it probably wouldn't be no running. I ain't going back to you. You wouldn't be able to run. But since you wasn't able to gain speed for real, y'all wasn't hurt like that with him crashing into like 3-4 things.
A Fast and Furious character, or that Baby Driver guy. And the suspect behind the wheel that day definitely wasn't. Anyways, all 4 of the perps were arrested and booked into jail, and 2 firearms were recovered. One in the crashed getaway car and another was found on a suspect. A few onlookers managed to snag pictures of the scene, as well as a video of K-Money while he was being loaded in a cruiser, and a screenshot hit the internet, but the first official word of his arrest came the next day. The story quickly made headlines, getting picked up by major news outlets from all over the city. Details started to surface, such as Casper requesting that the police inform Toronto Star of his arrest because he wanted the clout for when he dropped his next banger, which ended up being the following day while he was in custody. The banger in question was Have You, and he raps about running down his rivals and shooting.
Bro, I don't think he would do that. I think he just wants to be a crash out. But if you're doing that to market your song, that's a crazy marketing tactic that is not gonna last very long for you.
At them, something that his brother had just did the day before. The men were facing dozens of charges between them, most of which were multiple counts. Then 21-year-old Shaquem Anderson, who was the driver, had 20 of the charges against him. 20-year-old Harlan Baldwin, aka RK, held 21 charges, and he was the suspect who had a gun on him when he was caught. K-Money and Casper were facing 14 and 15 charges respectively, including pointing a firearm, possessing a weapon for dangerous purposes, and assault with the intent to resist and endanger life. Half of the men would remain in jail until they faced trial, while the other half were fortunate enough to get bailed out. RK, as well as the driver Shakim, were released just 2 weeks after being arrested, which sparked controversy and became the subject of a news article.
No, that is pretty crazy for them to be with some people that literally blick, shot at someone, ran from 12 on the sidewalk. To give them a bond is crazy. But Canada is just different.
The article questioned how Shakim managed to be granted bail, despite having prior gun convictions and being in the middle of 3 years probation. Not to mention, he had a weapons ban.
And bro was on
K-Money and
probation.
Casper would remain behind bars for a year or so, until the group would meet back up for their trial in the fall of 2019. But before getting to the verdict of the case, let's quickly go over the motive that was behind the shooting. Well, the night before it happened, on May 27, 2018, there was a shooting in the Alexandra Park area, around Augusta and Grange Avenue, which is in the heart of PO turf. One male was injured, but the report didn't give much detail. This is the event that allegedly provoked Casper, K-Money, and their crew to target their rivals from Regent Park, the ones who they thought were responsible for the attack. This theory of retaliation was even brought forward in court, but was never proven, and we'll discuss that more in the verdict part. But as you know, PO has an everlasting beef with Regent Park, which over the years has involved several different rappers who go at each other in songs and on social media. I'm not going to dive too deep into the rabbit hole, but Smoke Dawg is obviously someone who I should bring up in the story. He was an up-and-coming rapper from Regent Park who was steadily climbing the charts, around the same time Casper and K-Money were too, while Smoke Dawg was an avid member of Halal Gang, a group that doesn't take kindly to members of Project Originals, and vice versa. Now there was a bunch of drama revolving around Smoke Dawg's chain being snatched, and I won't go too much into it, but eventually the chain ended up in the possession of Casper and another rapper from PO, named Vanali Stacks. All of these rappers and opposing gangs share years of built-up tension, and MG members deciding to go on a mission that day, or the shooting that happened the night before, are just a few of the many incidents linked to the beef. About a month after K-Money and Casper got arrested, Smoke Dawg would film his last music video, Fountain Freestyle, which had a few shots of him standing outside of Atkinson Co-op building, which was a blatant diss towards PO, and it was possibly also a tease towards K-Money and Casper's arrest. Less than a week after dropping the video, Smoke Dawg was killed.
I ain't gonna bap to you. I heard this. I seen this on a little video of rappers that got unalived after dissing someone. Do y'all think that really happened because he dissed them, bro? Y'all Canadians, because I know y'all know the truth. Did that happen because he dissed them and slid over to their hood? Or it was just, you feel me, something that was gonna happen just because he was just in the streets?
In a brazen downtown shooting on June 30th, 2018. With the dates being so close together, it would look like the music video and his murder were connected, but they weren't. PO isn't the only enemy of Halal Gang. They also have problems with gangs from Driftwood, which is where the shooter, 21 Neat, was from. It's said that there was a brief argument before 21 Neat shot Smoke Dawg and his manager, Cobra Prime, in an event that was seemingly unrelated to Fountain Freestyle. So with that,
you see, people just be bapping, bro. People just be saying stuff, bro. I mean, he did pass away after making a diss song, but it's not, he didn't get unalived because of that diss song, which is, you feel me?
Out of the way, we're now at the verdict. So Casper and K-Money, along with the two other accused, appeared in Supreme Court in late September of 2019 to stand trial. All of the CCTV and dashcam footage of the incident was brought forward in the trial, along with other evidence. Casper claims that 90% of the prosecutor's evidence was related to lyrics in his songs, which is probably an exaggeration, but we do know that music is often used against rappers in court. The Crown was trying to prove that the shooting was linked to the one that happened the night before in Alexandra Park. More so, they were trying to prove that it was gang related, and that the men were part of a criminal organization. Fortunately for the accused, the allegations weren't able to be proven, at least beyond a reasonable doubt, which would have tacked on a lot more years to the men's sentences. But it turns out that the defendants weren't looking to put up much of a legal fight. In early October, after 2 weeks of proceedings, all four men decided to take responsibility for their actions and pled guilty to a variety of offenses. Shakim pled guilty to charges including dangerous driving and fleeing police.
Talking about take responsibility of their actions. No, the only reason they just plead guilty and accepted the plea deal because the plea deal was probably the best option for them. That's why they accepted responsibility. But if they was able to beat that case with no consequences, they would not take responsibility of it. I ain't gonna bap to you.
He was sentenced to 4 years. RK admitted to carrying a loaded Smith & Wesson handgun that day and was also sentenced to 4 years. Casper pled guilty to a wide range of charges, like committing an offense while wearing a disguise, bail breaches, and firearm offenses. The judge gave him 18 months, on top of the 2-year sentence he received for the prior drug and weapon convictions from April. K-Money pled guilty to similar charges, and also reckless discharge of a firearm. He was the one who pulled the trigger that day, so understandably he received the heaviest sentence out of the group, 7 years. With
Bro, Canada legal system is a joke. Real deal, bro. I ain't gonna bap to you. If I was in Canada, I might be more likely to commit a crime if I was in Canada, bro. Real deal, bro. If I was born and raised in Canada, I feel like I would probably be a criminal out there because it's like real deal, gang. Like America, I feel, in my opinion, do a very great job of deterring people from wanting to do stuff. People that's logical thinking, they see someone getting hit with 100 years in prison. Oh yeah, I'm not trying to get no 100 years in prison. Let me cool out. But if I see people getting 4 years for crashing out, man, someone make me mad. Boy. Alright, you better stop playing with me, bro. Oh, gang, I will crash out, bro, and be out in 4 years, bro. Real deal, bro. That's why people crash out there. I ain't gonna back to you.
Child custody that currently leaves him with just a few years left to serve.
He got, alright, so his homies, they got 4 years. The people that was with him got 4. Folks got 7. That's true, but he got 7 because he had a little bit other extra stuff too. But 7 is not that bad, bro. 7 and 4 years for the people that was with him. I ain't gonna bap to you. I'm not even being with nobody that's committing a crime because in America, you be with them. Oh yeah, you still getting 20 years, gang. You was with them. Now you got 20 years. Unless you snitch. It's either you snitch or you getting 20 years. That's why I don't be trying to be around that, bro. I ain't gonna bap to you, bro. America right there do you dirty, bro.
Official Canley documents for the case haven't yet been put out, so it's not reported which exact charges they were convicted of. K-Money's lawyer said that the prosecutors were aiming for a 15-year sentence, so it's fortunate that the number was knocked in half. Jack Verk also defended K.
I ain't gonna bap to you. Real deal, bro. They be bapping saying, oh yeah, we was gonna give you this, but we gave you this. Bro, you was gonna give them that from the start, gang. Real deal, bro. Stop playing. Y'all be bapping, bro. America be doing that too. Like they said, you gonna get this time. Bro, they told Otto he was gonna be 6 years. He gonna have to spend 6 years in jail. I told Otto, bro, we was in jail. Boy, you ain't gonna have to spend 6 years, gang, bro. That's bad, bro. They just be telling you stuff to scare you, gang. Real deal, bro.
K-Money on his human trafficking charges, and in the past, he's had other clients from the city, like Houdini and Baka Not Nice. So in conclusion, whether or not the group set out for revenge that day, whatever they were trying to do definitely didn't go as planned. They made an effort to get away, but they probably wish that they chose a faster getaway car than a Volkswagen Tiguan. A few minutes of adrenaline cost the men years in prison. In an interview with a channel called Capital T Films,
but I'm not even trying to do 4 years though. Real deal. 4 years, 7 years, that's still a pretty long time, but it's better than getting out all that other time, bro. Me personally, I probably still won't crash out over there. Now that I'm thinking about it, cause I was like 4 years, bro. Man, it's so many baddies I could be with in 4 years and still I'm gonna be around a bunch of dudes in a cell. No, I ain't doing that, bro. I ain't crashing out.
Casper speaks live from behind bars about different topics, including his conviction. He said that he wants people to use him, K-Money, and RK as examples, since they are rappers who are on the rise, but mess things up for themselves by getting arrested. On the other hand, he mentions how street politics in Toronto is something that's not going away anytime soon, and he even said he believes it's getting worse. But overall, from what I can take from the interview, it does seem like Casper's maturing, and hopefully he'll have a different mindset once he gets out, which could be soon. Until then, Casper noted that he won't be dropping any more new music, and basically said he's just gonna milk the buzz he already has until the day he's free. It's a shame that he would openly throw away prime years of his career over street beef, especially since it said he was in talks with 2 labels. Some people believe he'll get signed when he gets out, while others believe that labels will see him as a liability. Regardless, let's just hope he focuses on the right things once he's a free man again. As for K-Money, well, he has the longest bid out of the group, but even then, he's still due to be out in a few years. Unlike Casper, K-Money didn't give an interview from prison, so I don't really know his thoughts about what happened. Since being incarcerated, he's made posts showing appreciation to his...
So we don't even need to listen to them. So they get out bapping. They get out tweaking, bro. I ain't gonna bap to you. People don't never learn their lesson, gang. They don't learn their lesson till they get hit with the book. They hit them with the whole, oh, you spending your whole life up in here. Now they, oh, no, give me another chance. We gave you another chance. And another one. No, you locked me up. Yeah, that other chance was giving you 4 years, 7 years. That's another chance at life. You feel me? You messed that up. I ain't gonna bap to you, bro. If I get locked up for that long, bro, I'm cool now. I'm chilling, living a life, retiring from the streets. I'm done. I'm done, bro. I ain't gonna bap to you, bro. I'm not trying to be up in there no more. We don't condone nothing in this educational, informational documentary. But if you watch this educational, informational documentary all the way through, I know you're messing with another one. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss out on any documentaries like this.